Is it really a surprise to me that they're taking you seriously? I always had the very best seats, now they're calling you off of the streets. Your face is now a sharpened jaw, and all these women are in shock and awe. That such a nice guy could be so unrefined. It's like an ancient curse, and what you leave will be what's worse. I don't care. There's no
Hey gamers, welcome to episode 31 of Cinema Curse. Tonight, face front, true believers. What was the alliteration I came up with earlier? The charming Cinema Curse culprits are here to talk about Smiling Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, which was just recently re-released because Sony Pictures is trying to recoup losses from Madam Web and presumably shore up profits before Kraven the Hunter bombs Christmas.
Yeah. So look, if you missed it this year, you'll probably be able to see it again next year.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Excelsior! I should have given Jack Kirby more money and credit. Enough said. I'm Connor Lloyd Crews, your wicked game master. The Joey Chestnut of talking about movies, Edwin Gomez, is webbed up at the moment. Couldn't make it. But we
Wow,
have,
what a shame.
yeah, we have here today.
Hey guys, it's Brian. How are you?
I gotta do like alphabetical order in my head real quick. Bobby, you're on the
Hey
big
guys,
screen.
Mayor of Butttown here, Robert Benfer. Let's get the party started.
Your friendly
don't know.
neighborhood bear, Fafnir.
I don't know who this is.
Yeah, you don't.
Hey everyone, it's Scott. Good to see you again.
And joining us for the first time,
Who the fuck is that?
Hello, it's Jason.
it is.
Glad to be here, Connor. Thank you for having me on.
Thank
Who's
you
this guy?
for joining us. Who is this guy? This mysterious voice. And actual face. I want to thank Marina Sakamoto and her band Shunkin for the use of their song Curse off the EP She Nods for our opening. It's been 175 days since the strike ended and the AMPTP still sucks. And how is everybody?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I woke up 2 hours ago.
Oh,
Nice.
So normal Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Or Thursday or whatever it is.
We are recording this at 11:30 a.m., so that's like a normal time to wake up.
Exactly.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
sorry I didn't iron my hot dog shirt for this. I didn't have time.
That's fine. I forgive you.
Okay.
Let's start. I chose backgrounds. These aren't funny backgrounds. I just chose visuals that I didn't represent with GIFs in the opening. I didn't have anything of Green Goblin. I didn't want this to be a visually goblinless episode. Jason, why don't you tell us
Hello.
about what happens? What's Spider-Man about? What happens in that movie?
What's Spider-Man about? It's about a boy named Peter Parker. He's a little bit clueless, a lot bit horny. He gets bit by a genetically modified spider, which helps with neither of those problems. His best friend Harry is also pretty horny, but mostly dad jealous of Peter, who doesn't even have a dad. Speaking of dads, Harry's dad's gone kind of science horny, and that's messing him up.
That's him right there behind me.
Yeah, that's him, and that's pretty much the movie.
Yeah. It's the Spider-Man origin story. That's the first half of the movie.
He
Yeah,
gets
It's
Um,
so
also that, yeah.
he gets so science horny that he impales himself in the dick with his
Yeah.
own creation. Yeah, the movie. It's fun.
I mean, I'm gonna tip my hand really early. My opinions on these.
Mhm.
I mean, I love these movies, and these first two especially are my two of my favorite movies ever made. Period. Definitely my favorite superhero movies. I think Spider-Man in general has the best origin story of any comic book character. I mean, I think it's a big part of why he is as popular as he is, because there's something very I don't know, there's something kind of profound about the Spider-Man origin in a way that like a lot of other characters is just like, oh, like, you know, someone died and now you're mad, and there's like a more specific thing with this one and how they died. And I think this movie tells it perfectly, and I love the sincerity of it. I'm a big Raimi man. Evil Dead's my favorite movie, so yeah. Jason, I know you
The
said
Wizard of Oz movie they made.
yeah. That's okay. Jason, what do you think about this movie as a whole?
I'm probably going to be the most negative about them in the group here
Oh, yeah.
of all the people here. But I think of these three, I do think the first one is my favorite of them. I feel like when I watched them initially, the second one was my favorite. But rewatching them recently, I think the first one has the most stuff that I latched onto. Like I do agree with you about. For the most part, about the origin story. Like I think it's an interesting one, and I think that it's done reasonably well here in this movie, and I just it's a good setup movie for a superhero franchise.
Bobby?
You want to talk about 3? Sorry, when he talked to me,
He's just ready. He's ready.
Oh, we're
What
just
do you want
talking
me
about we're
to-
just talking about like general opinions on the first movie.
I like the first one. I love the vibrant colors and how they slowly get more depressing every movie.
Yeah.
Mary Jane's hair is like a bright red, and then it turns blonde in the third one, I think.
Yeah. Well, no,
That's
in the
all I gotta
second
say
one,
about that.
it's actually more red in the third one than the second one. But
I haven't seen the movies in like a month, so I don't remember exactly.
did you watch them all last month?
No, actually, I watched 2/3 of the extended cut of Spider-Man 2 on Discord a month ago while I was drunk, and it was 3 a.m.
Okay.
And I think the last time I saw Spider-Man, Dom Fear likes to watch the Spider-Man movies every Thanksgiving. That's like his thing.
Nice.
So I think the last time I watched, he likes to watch the first 2 during Thanksgiving. But when I was there, it was my idea we should also watch the third one. And everybody just got really bummed out and mad halfway through the third one.
Yeah.
So
That's
it was
fair.
like a funny, ironic thing of, hey, we watched the first 2, your Thanksgiving thing, Dom. Now we're going to do the third one. But I forgot how long the third one is.
Yeah.
And when you're watching them all in one day, the third one is kind of drags you down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think the third one is only like 10 minutes longer than the previous movie, but it just feels a lot longer.
Yeah.
I would say, having seen all 3 of these now, like one a week, I'd say that's probably the way to go. I don't think I would recommend watching all 3 of these movies in a row.
Yeah.
I think even as good as they are, they get repetitive.
Yeah.
And considering, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, considering the third one is the low note, it's just also not like just a great feature, like they're together. Like
It's
I
like
still like
setup.
the third one, but I don't want to watch the third one after. I don't want to watch them all in
Yeah,
one day.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Also,
yeah.
I don't know if I even answered Connor's question on what I think of the first one.
Oh, it's
I
okay.
don't think so.
But, you know,
Well,
whatever.
if Brian and Fafnir, you guys have general opinions, I have like a breakdown of each movie by like mostly by cast and like moments that are really good.
I do agree on not watching them all together. I think that the series as a whole like suffers by doing that, primarily because like there's just a lot of stuff that they all have in common that
Mhm.
isn't necessarily interesting seeing 3 times in a row.
Mhm.
Like you kind of go through the same kind of relationship beats between Peter Parker and MJ, like similar stuff, and then also like in the first one, the villain is someone who goes crazy from wacky gas. And then in the second one, the main villain goes crazy from having the wacky arms with AI in it. And then in the third one, Peter goes crazy from space goo. It's just, it's just like
Plus,
much
the
of the
bad guy gets
motivation.
molecules messed up with sand. It's
Yeah, even though they set up the spaceman thing in the second one with JJ's son, but they
yeah,
just
yeah,
don't do that at all. With
yeah. They don't bring
No.
him back.
it just comes out of nowhere. It just happens
Yeah.
to land next to Peter Parker. What the bad luck that guy has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like you know, having the character who goes wacky through some outside force like works in one of the movies. I feel like having that element in all 3 of them was a mistake.
Right?
I think it kind of worked. I think like for each movie, it is sort of a formula they had going on where like it seemed that Sam Raimi was into like almost a universal monster type archetype with these villains, like misunderstood monsters, which also kind of followed the Batman template where like you always saw the origin of these villains. They were just never like, I'm Dr. Octopus, you know, like just showing up like that. It was like, how do they become Dr. Octopus?
I like they just use JJ as the joke, is just like, we're just gonna give these freaks names now, and then boom, that's it. That's
I
how it
definitely
happens.
would have liked the misunderstood monster element of it more if like the characters were misunderstood for reasons beyond they're just acting outside of their own volition.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of takes away and the weird thing is like in each of these movies they all have like motivation for what they end up doing, but the movie still introduces some outside element that influences them to have them do that thing. So like Harry's dad, what's his name?
Norman.
Willem Dafoe. Norman. Norman has pretty good motivations for doing what he does, even without the wacky gas. Doc Ock has motivations for what he does without the arms controlling him. Peter Parker has motivations for the stuff that he's going through without the symbiote influencing him.
Eddie Brock.
Yeah, and that also.
Yep.
He also
Being too much of a downer,
motivations for
Jason.
his
He got called out.
Being too much of a downer, Jason. I'm I'm regretting asking you on. Because I have largely nothing but love. I definitely see your point. I do think that like I think it works with the first, and I weirdly, even though the second one is my favorite, I think with Doc Ock is the one that is the least necessary, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I do think it works in the first movie. Like I think it absolutely like works properly, and it's a classic, you know, mad science story.
And that's that character also.
Yeah, and I just think that it works there, which makes like the unnecessariness of that element stick out for me more watching them all in a row for the second movie and then the third one.
But yeah, I mean, I want to go down some of the main cast introduced in this first movie. First, Mr. Tobey Maguire. I think he's great. I don't know if this is a weird thing to say. There's so many like meme faces of him, like his face scrunched in weird ways, in ways that I feel like the last like 5 to 10 years, like big movies don't let their action stars make goofy faces like that anymore as much to like make memes.
Yeah, actors aren't allowed to have goofy faces in general.
Yeah, and I miss that. I miss his my background for 3 is one of my favorite goofy faces he makes in all 3 of these. So
is it in the jazz club?
It's not. It's in the first big action scene, actually.
All right.
I'm just gonna keep going down. If people have stuff to say about these things, just jump in.
As far as Toby goes, I guess I'll just say like he's one of my favorite Peter Parkers. Like of as the series goes on with other actors playing them, like I think he really nails Peter Parker in the way that I like Tom Holland. I personally thought Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker was just a little too cool,
Yeah,
like
for
the whole
sure.
series. But like especially he nails the like 60s Spider-Man Peter Parker that Sam Raimi's clearly going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just really gets that 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I love him. I love this guy.
Look at them. Oh, the other way.
I like this guy. I like his. Look at him.
There he is. There's Peter Parker himself.
There
Yeah.
he is.
Um,
I like him. I think he's probably the best actor.
yeah, that's possibly true.
Yeah.
He's-
Tom
he's-
Holland's like 40 and he still looks like he's 13. I don't know why I brought up that.
I think
There's no reason to be mean to Tom Holland.
there's no reason.
Like
Listen,
that.
I love all of these guys in their own way. They've all given good performances. They're all fine. I think we need to not get mad at actors. Edwin isn't here to be mad about Tom Holland.
I
He
get
would-
mad at actors.
He would be mad. But famously,
Why is
Edwin doesn't like twinks. So that's
Famously.
Oh yeah, that's if there's one thing you know about Edward.
That's the thing. Yeah, that is.
he
the,
really
he's a-
doesn't. He really hates Tom Holland and Timothy Chalamet. He has a
I mean,
big.
that's not surprising. He hates a lot of things.
That's
I
true.
think Tom Holland's his Peter Parker's also a little too cool.
I mean, we saw him
I like
the other
that
night.
little weirdo Toby.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Willem behind me is perfect. One of my favorite supervillain performances.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
I
obviously,
think probably my favorite. I think like it's kind of stayed that way for so many years. I think.
I think
Right.
like there's few villains in comic book history who like are really as memorable as Willem Dafoe in
Yeah.
this movie.
Which I gotta say,
I'm glad he got a big comic book villain role.
yeah, and
Mhm.
he's great in it. And I gotta say, like the reason he's memorable as he is because of Willem Dafoe, because the Goblin character and the Goblin arc in this movie is not much.
No.
Which is too bad. Like I would say, like going back to just talking about the first movie, I really love the first half. I think the origin story, like really everything up to him becoming Spider-Man is pretty perfect.
Mhm.
And then the second half, when it's like, oh, we still have like another half of a movie to tell. We don't quite have a story yet. We have the goblins here, but they don't have enough time to tell like the ultimate goblin story.
Yeah.
So like his plan is just sort of
Yeah. What is
fucking
his plan?
let's be chaos essentially.
Yeah, fuck shit up is basically his MO completely.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can relate
And
to
it-
that.
and it is, like I said, it's too bad it kind of falls apart, but what keeps it together is Willem Dafoe's amazing performance, because even if it's like not motivated by anything, the stakes of this movie are actually surprisingly small.
Yeah.
He's never saving the world, and in this one he's just like at the end he has to save the kids and Mary Jane, and but it
Goblin
still
just
works.
wants a partner.
Yeah, he's lonely.
Yeah, he's lonely. Right.
His son sucks.
Yeah.
We don't
Absolutely.
It's just,
He hates his
the
himbo
worst.
son,
Like,
who would
and now
later go on to be a famous sex pest.
yeah, you know what? Having seen Succession,
I blame that on the
just,
serum.
it all hits a little bit differently now. Now it's just like, oh, Harry's just Kendall Roy.
Yeah, remember when they call James Franco's Goblin New Goblin
New Goblin.
instead of
Yeah.
anything that made any fucking sense?
I think if they had called him New Goblin but spelled like new metal, that would have been actually really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you, Goblin.
yeah.
Mm.
I think it's NEU. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
No, it's
Oh,
NU.
no,
Sometimes
it was
with
Is it just
a
NU.
NU?
And
Sometimes-
NU is, I think it's a European version.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a lot of chat here today. I can't keep up with it in the chat. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna read it later. If I see anything that's like genuinely, I'll shout it out. There's a lot of little. I love the mirror scene. It's which I think didn't this come out the same year as the Two Towers, which has like a similar bit in it.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh,
like,
when
when
with,
he's talking to himself and it's like cutting back and forth between a reflection to represent the two sides of the character.
Yeah, they
'Cause I
do.
think-
They do a similar thing with Gollum in
Gollum
Two
and Smeagol.
Towers.
Yeah.
Which one was first?
It would technically like this came out in May and Two Towers came out in December or November.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure
But-
Jackson
they,
and
like,
Raimi are fine.
yeah.
with it-
Yeah,
with it.
yeah. I don't think. I mean, I
Beef over that.
They were just talking. They were talking every night, and Raimi's just ripping off. He's like, "I got you."
I love the little moment. There's like a lot of little moments also that I feel like I'm not like a guy who's like, oh, movies these days, usually. And these aren't that long ago, but there's a couple moments in these movies, and the moment when like the thing comes down and he's like, oh, that's cold.
oh yeah.
Like that feels like something like so weird and random and small. And a little Raimi thing. I love that he tries to pull a Deadite trick at the end and convince him that he's actually the good version of himself.
Yeah.
When he is in fact still the evil version of himself.
And that's again Willem Dafoe just delivering the way he does that too.
Yeah.
And you say that like they weren't made that long ago, which yeah, you're right. Like the first one is 22 years old. But like it was made in a different era.
Yeah.
Like these
for sure.
all three feel like real films in the way that like they weren't just churning out superhero movies, especially with the first one. It was kind of the movie that showed that superhero movies could be product.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's incredible to watch these movies, just to see like old school filmmaking. That's why I think Sam Raimi is such an inspired choice. Like it seems natural now, but I remember when it was announced that he was going to direct it, people were excited, but it was not necessarily like everyone thought like, oh, of course it's going to be Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the first movie has the most of that kind of stuff that I like. I really like the cuts where you see like interviews with people on the street, things like that. And
He stinks, and I don't like him.
there's a lot of that kind of stuff that you just don't really see in movies. There's like a lot of practical effects happening with like there's the one shot of Spider-Man that's been gifted to death of like him jumping off into the into the air, but the fact that they did that with wires instead of just like cutting to a CG shot or whatever, like it's there's good stuff in the movie.
Don't see that anymore.
I mean,
Speaking of the Two Towers, where the hell was Peter?
I think generally speaking,
Make
even
that
like
joke 10 minutes later.
even the CGI effects in these, I think, hold up pretty well. And I think it's just a matter of, I think Sam Raimi knows how to do that stuff. He's like a technical director. He knows how to do that stuff. I think there are like certain directors who were able to survive the transition to the CGI era, like Sam Raimi. And I think there are certain directors like a Tim Burton, perhaps, who have not been able to.
And I think part of it was when that movie was made, you couldn't just do all CGI. Like they were still figuring out what it was. Because I actually like just getting a little ahead of ourselves, but like watching the third one, there are times it's like, ooh, I think the special effects actually sometimes work worse than this one.
Yeah, because they're just used all the time.
Other main cast, Kirsten Dunst. I think she anchors these movies.
The best.
Yeah,
absolutely.
One of my favorite scenes in this first movie is in the backyard, their little conversation where it's clearly her hearing somebody speak positively about this stuff to her for like the first time probably ever. It's kind of heartbreaking. It's really good. She's fucking great.
Her
I feel like
scream is
heartbreaking is a
iconic.
theme. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like part of her audition, because it's like, especially in the second one, there's a lot of women screaming in this movie, but like her scream.
All three of these.
in
It's a
particular-
Sam Raimi movie, baby.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
loves women screaming, and also when Spider-Man's running around, just random shots of women like looking on with
It's Spider-Man.
sexy admiration.
Ah.
Yeah. Hey, he also likes when kids do it too.
Yeah, it's cute. Yeah, like it's either adorable or a turn on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
uh,
she's a great Mary Jane. And in
Yeah.
fact, like one thing that it's disappointing with these movies is that like no matter what the storyline is, it kind of does devolve into her being a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
And like as the movies have got as like the series have gotten on, like the Mary Jane character has gotten a little bit more advanced, you know, with what Zendaya does with it. But yeah, in this movie, she is still very much as great as she is by the third act. It's just help me, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Their screams are great though, like her scream and him yelling Mary Jane,
Mary
which
Jane!
happens in
Yeah.
every movie.
Yeah. In fact, I knew she wasn't going to be in it, but it was too bad that she wasn't in Far From Home, because it would have been nice to hear that scream and to hear him yell that one more time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is it Far From Home or No Way Home?
No Way
No
Home.
Way Home.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna let it pass.
Too many homes.
Honestly, that's where I was
I
at with
wanted,
it too.
well, I wanted to be the asshole.
Yeah.
And you were.
Speaking of
Misinformation.
assholes, we also
Jason,
had.
did you ever see No Way Home?
You really fucked up. That was such a good transition, Bobby. I was saying, speaking of assholes, James Franco.
Oh, sorry. I just want to know,
Jason, have you seen No Way Home? Did you see the Spider-Man
Yes.
crossover movie?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I
Thank you.
James Franco. Obviously, he has been deservedly canceled, and but I like him in these. He's like a himbo, and he's just like Peter's buddy. And I also like that he worked with Sam Raimi on another thing, Oz, even though it's not very good, because I love Sam Raimi. So in my head, I'm like, oh, they must, well, if they did that, they probably like get along with each other, or did at that point. But you know, he was definitely, it was funny in the screenings. He was the one who like people like laughed at the most when he was trying to be serious.
Yeah.
Because I was enjoying just watching him be miserable. And I think for the first two, that was the best thing. You're like, okay, this is like a shitty guy. I love that his character's not winning. So by the third, I was like, wait, I got to feel empathy for this guy. And I kind of hated that part. But that was the biggest disappointment of 3 for me. But those first two, I loved watching him just get so angry at the view of Spider-Man or anything. Just so great.
Yeah, and he does play it really well. You know, like, listen, talent and morality don't have anything in touch with each other. So, like, and like, cause he plays it perfectly. Where like on the outside, it's like, oh, I'm rich, I'm good looking, I'm a charming kid, so I've got it all. But like, you could see just like, oh, this guy, his life sucks. He's just so miserable all the time. That's why I kind of like said, like watching Succession, like it just hits a little differently. Like, oh, he's young Kendall Roy.
It's so funny because his dad clearly hates him so much. Like,
Yeah.
in so many,
absolutely.
like the graduation scene is so funny when he's like, congrats, and then he like turns to Peter and like gives him a speech.
Yeah. I think what he actually says to Harry is like, don't ever, I guess I can be wrong, or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
Like it isn't even congratulations. It's like, I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I thought you were going to be a fuck up your entire life. This is crazy.
Like, well, at least you don't have to get your GED. I don't have to pay for your.
I don't have to be embarrassed by your GED status.
I got to tell you, Harry, I thought I was going to have to Billy Madison you. But luckily that's not the case.
But let me see. Sorry, I'm moving the chat box around a little bit.
By the way, can I just say one other thing about like the casting of these? They were all clearly like in their late 20s, but it works. Like having them as high schoolers, just because I think like they didn't try to like make them look younger, which is like, I'm just thinking of like when Dear Evan Hansen came out, and like,
oh yeah,
it's like he's about the same age as the 3 of the main characters were in this movie. But like they didn't surround the rest of the cast with high schoolers, and they didn't like put a bunch of wigs and makeup on to be like, no, just like, it was just like, go with it. This is Tobey Maguire. He's 18. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's fine. I've always found it weird when people complain about that he like looks old, and I'm like, it's the movies, buddy.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
The magic of cinema. And like they look consistent. Are you gonna say, Jason? You're
Yeah.
gonna disagree with
Yeah.
me?
No, I think you're correct. I do think that they should have for the teacher in the scene where they're on the field trip, they should have hired maybe an older actor
I think you're right. Yeah,
for that role because Tobey Maguire was 27 and the actor playing the teacher was 29. But,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, I mean it's fine.
It's a comparative thing. It's always, like
Yeah.
Tom Holland and those actors work because they look like they're the same age. And
And they always will.
yeah, these three actors.
Tom Holland would be 65 and look like he is today for sure.
Yeah.
And these three actors look the same age,
Mhm.
Yeah.
These like the kid leads. Also main characters, I group these two together. If MJ is the heart of the movie, these are the soul: Aunt May and Uncle Ben, Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson. I mean, really just great
I
stuff.
cut my nose while I was shaving.
Especially the big scene in the car.
I
Yeah.
think I cut my nose right here when I was shaving.
Man.
Sorry.
Oh.
My nose hurts. I gotta piss, BRB.
There's a lot of issues going on over there. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Aunt May, Uncle Ben. I love them in these. Sorry.
Yeah. No, really, really great casting for both of them. It's interesting too because, like, again, every single iteration of Spider-Man, they seem to go younger.
Yeah.
With the casting of these two, but they work in this one as, again, the older '60s Spider-Man.
I want to fuck every single one of them.
Oh, absolutely.
People, when Marissa Tomei was cast, they were like, "Oh, they made Aunt May hot," and I was like, "Now they did? Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is also that was always like a weird thing with like Spider-Man, where it's like this is his aunt, but it looks like his grandma.
Yeah.
So, and then the last of like the main characters, kind of a group of main characters headlined by J.K. Simmons, but the Daily Bugle office.
Sure. Absolutely.
Just,
absolutely.
Incredible.
In a way, a casting like as iconic as Tobey Maguire in
Oh, absolutely.
I think
Like,
definitely.
yeah.
J.K.
Yeah.
Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson is like I mean, it survived in a way. It's like with Matthew Lillard and Shaggy and Scooby Doo, where like he just does Shaggy's voice now in cartoons, and that's basically J.K. Simmons just does J. Jonah Jameson in like a lot of different things at this point, because they were just like, yeah, whatever, fuck it. Like,
no, I mean, I guess you know what,
perfect.
more than Tobey Maguire, I'd say that's probably in the way of like Kevin Conway of like, you know what I mean, like it's just like that is who people see
or
now.
Mark
You're
Hamill.
right. Like that's just who we cast now in whatever we're doing for J. Jonah.
Why wouldn't you? If
Yeah,
you
why
can
not?
get
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons to be
if
J.
he's
Jonah
available-
Jameson, why the fuck wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, and especially because like I don't want to say he's so like you could just have him do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like it's not as important of like, oh, he's different this way. It's like, okay, yeah, but you have the same basic idea. He wants pictures of Spider-Man.
I will say my casting for the MCU before they just introduced J.K. Simmons is I always thought Terry Crews would have been good, but I still think that would probably be pretty good. Like imagine him in the like the overalls, the suspenders, and
angry
stuff.
PE teacher vibe, or not teacher, whatever.
Yeah.
PE gym.
A couple of production notes. I think I've heard a lot of people say that these movies aren't very Sam Raimi, which I think is kind of weird.
Very weird.
I think that like they're obviously more subdued. You know, it's not like Quick and the Dead or Evil Dead 2 in terms of like every shot being crazy, but like I think even like in Spider-Man 3 when Harry goes to the hospital and the shot is like this wide shot of the hospital and all these people passing by in the foreground, and then it kind of like dollies and zooms in to Harry's face in the window outside, and then like the curtain closes. and there's just so much like all the shots visually feel very elaborate in a way that feel very Raimi to me, at least.
I always think of in 2 when Doc Ock.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the one that
Murders
everyone
Oak,
says, but I think
Yeah.
Well, that's the only thing. Well, I'm talking as a guy who hasn't seen these movies in 13 years, or whatever I said at the 30 minutes ago.
but yeah.
I would say it's like mainstream Raimi. Like
For
I
sure.
think that people
Or
it
the
doesn't-
final fight with Green Goblin with all the obnoxious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that fight's brutal. I remember when I saw it with my mom, she did not like that. Like that disturbed her.
I remember my dad when I was younger didn't like the first one that much, and I never really understood why. And I remember a couple of years ago when I rewatched them, that last big fight scene, I was like, "Oh, this is why." Like he doesn't.
I do like that. Like it's that scene in that, and like you mentioned, the second scene. In addition to being like the Raimi feeling Raimi, it does also kind of like it's the one part in the movies where he kind of goes like, in real life, this would be awful. This would be like horrific and terrible. And like it's fun because we're watching a superhero movie, so I'm gonna make it fun. But like the reality of what this would be like in our world would be truly, truly terrifying.
Yeah. And there's a lot of like, even like sound stuff that he does that feels very Raimi. Like even in the third one, which probably has the least of that stuff to a certain degree, he does like a lot of the sound thing. Like I think so much about in the first Evil Dead, one of my favorite moments when they just completely cut the sound like very slowly out. Just like cutting sound completely is a very Sam Raimi thing in my brain, and he does that a lot in these, even in the third one. Like they never cut it out completely like the way they do in Evil Dead. There's usually like and like like punching noises and stuff, but it's like the same effect. I think the theme by Danny Elfman is great. It's really good.
I like it. I wish it was more iconic. It like in a way like you recognize it right away, but it doesn't just quite hit the way that like the Batman theme, like his Batman theme or John Williams Superman theme hits. Like when you hear that, you like know what it is right away. Where like with the Spider is like and it's like I don't know. It's not as easily hummable, I guess. And
I think I would maybe that's like a slight age difference thing, and just like when I saw these because I can like always tell something about the instrumentation of like the start of that theme. I think about like the strings that the kind of plucked strings, I think what's going on when they start the theme at the very beginning of the movie. But some scenes in the movie. We've got the scene that's behind Fafnir. Let's see.
Macho Man R.I.P.
Bonesaw is ready. And Bruce Campbell cameo.
And Bruce Campbell, yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Campbell.
Great scene. Very of the time of the like that wrestling era of wrestling, which I love.
Hell yeah. Hell in a Cell.
You also got the very of the time random homophobic joke that gets thrown out by by
oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, you're on the wrong side of history there, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It doesn't even
Spider-Man
make sense as a quip.
It doesn't make sense as a quip?
He's trying to not to defend the writing, but from the viewpoint of being gay is bad.
I think
that's the quip.
There's no cleverness to it though. Like even like if we accept, all right, he's homophobic. It's all right. There's
famously homophobic.
There's nothing.
Spider-Man.
There's famously homophobic Spider-Man. Yes. There's.
Well, maybe he was just saying.
There's nothing about the joke. There's nothing about like the outfit that he comments on outside of.
Yeah, it's just a leotard. Yeah.
Maybe he was just saying what he thought would anger Macho Man because wrestlers.
I mean, clearly that's what he's trying to do. It's just,
Question is masculinity.
Usually his Spider-Man's quips are a little bit more.
They should have a director's cut where it
Well, he was
freeze
working on it.
frames there, and we hear Tobey Maguire and VO say, "I'm not homophobic. I love gay people. I was doing this only because I thought it would provoke a reaction out of him." See the scene in True Romance where who's McCall does it with the N-word or whatever to make Christopher Walken kill him fast or whatever the fuck. Another great scene, unproblematic.
Croc, Macho Man died. He had a heart attack and crashed his truck.
Yeah,
He died in
Yeah.
He-
Yeah.
a truck accident.
he was killed by his own glider.
Oh no.
We got Macy Gray in Times Square, another 2002
Yeah.
flashback.
Very of the time.
Ooh, yeah.
That's not even like a 2002. That's like that's like a 2 weeks in 2000, like a June.
It was
2 weeks in
honestly,
June
yeah,
of
it was probably
2002
like more of
reference.
a like 2000, like early 2000 reference where it's like by the time this movie came out, we were like, oh yeah, I remember her.
It was like the 4 days in 2002 when Macy Gray was
yeah.
a thing, and then she
Well,
got that Spider-Man
that's
thing.
I laughed pretty hard when they were like
Yeah.
Macy Gray. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is a. This is a movie that came out.
But then she doesn't sing that song.
Yeah.
No.
I'm like, where the fuck, Green Goblin? Fuck this shit. Blow this shit up.
Yeah.
There is the iconic upside down kiss. Maybe the most iconic moment from the movie individually, I think, possibly.
I think so.
There's the great.
I feel like if there was like a Criterion release of this movie, that would be the cover.
Oh yeah, I think.
Yeah, I watching the scene again. I had forgotten because it had been a while since I had seen the first Spider-Man movie. I had forgotten that scene happens like right after she's almost sexually assaulted by multiple assailants.
Yes.
It's like I think it.
Well, we don't
this
know they're going to
fucking
sexually assault
cockblood
her. They just
Peter.
might want to. They just might want to rob her. Nothing like
Yeah,
hey.
they just make a bunch of like kissy noises and stuff. And
Yeah, they're like old school movie thugs. Hey,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice setup for a very romantic kiss between her and Spider-Man.
The movie.
I think it
is-
works less
yeah,
watching it
real
now, but
gang
it's a good
sexual
shot.
Assaults were like that. Nothing would ever get done. No one would be sexually assaulted. They'd be too busy making kissy noises.
The whole movie is old time.
And it wasn't even like
doesn't feel
gang
like it-
sexual
yeah.
assault weather. It was like raining.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's like takes place in 2002. Like all the burglars are very like old school movie burglars.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie in general, like the way a number of characters talk and the way like it's all set up, it's very clearly like out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Which I
It
think
feels
bodes well for the
It feels very pulled out of those first like 100 issues of like the Amazing Spider-Man, honestly.
I think honestly that's why like when Macy Gray showed up I laughed a little bit because like for the most part the movie kind of feels timeless and that felt very 2002
Except for the Macy Gray.
and the
Yeah,
giant
yeah,
like
and
the
singular
hair
billboard in Times Square.
yeah I mean
and the saturated colors.
There's the famous Thanksgiving scene, which makes this a Thanksgiving movie, clearly.
Mhm.
And then there's all that stuff
Because
at
the movie's about family.
yeah. I mean, kind of.
I really don't know.
It's
I
kind
thought it
of
was
about this.
a kid who got bit by a radioactive spider.
It is kind of a movie about a
Genetically
big
modified,
family.
Robert. The spider wasn't radioactive.
Oh. But the theme song Spider-Man from the 90s, Radioactive Spider-Man.
It was in the past, but in this movie, it's genetically modified.
Yeah.
Oh,
The super spider.
I didn't know. Thank you, Gene.
Yeah, that was how. Which, by the way, I'm just curious. What are everyone's thoughts about the organic?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
I
Fuck
mean,
whatever I
who
was
cares?
saying anyway. I agree with Jason.
my opinion about the organic thing is who cares? I remember people saying that about Amazing Spider-Man, like, oh, I like it so much better. He made the webs this
Yeah.
time. I'm like, what
Yeah.
the fuck are you talking about? Like
I
you
like
know.
the organic stuff. I think it's creepier, which makes it better.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the little
I-
things coming out of his fingers. What do you
Yeah.
call them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got that too. Yeah.
As opposed to just like in the comic where the comics, I'll say this, the comics
Wait, with that,
oftentimes
if he doesn't organically shoot web, then what's his spider powers? Just climbing and being quick on the feet?
And
like
spider
thinking-
sense. Yeah.
it's the
yeah,
spider
and
sense
strength.
and agility and strength, I guess. In the comics,
Rip off, he has
he
to make the webs.
has like a weird like
Complete the Spider-Man.
gravity attraction thing that he does with his, like, I forget how exactly they describe it. The comics always like make it like fucking like the explanation for the power too weird. Like, do you guys know in the comics what how Cyclops' eye beams work? His eyes open a portal to a dimension of pure energy or something.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And it's always
So do
shit
mine,
like
who gives a
that.
fuck?
That's what I'm looking
And
for right there.
he absorbs solar energy to be able to open the portals. Not that he absorbs solar energy to then expend, but to give him the ability to open the portals to the place with the other energy.
Yeah.
Which also kind of
you
makes
talking about?
like he could just like live in a place without sun and he would be fine. He just could
Oh
wear
yeah,
normal
that should be
glasses.
that. Like he should take 6 months off and hang out in Alaska,
Yeah.
and then just be like, all right, gotta.
Yeah.
Those little finger spine things on Spider-Man's fingers and stuff. How much of his body do you think has that on it? Or is it just his hands? Does this extend to other areas?
I would guess it's
Now
his
you're
like
asking me-
hands and feet,
You're
like
asking a real question.
anything anything built for gripping, you know?
Yeah.
Um so
Wow.
and yeah. Great stuff.
I'm just yeah.
That's good. There's also 2 other Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I think probably time to move on.
yeah, well I was gonna say
I don't know the.
I just want to say, well, there's like so much to introduce in this first one that like in the
Yeah.
second and third
Mhm.
one, and we've had a lot of conversations during this first one about like
Wait,
our
do
feelings.
spiders have those things
overall.
on their fingertips too?
Um,
On their fingertips, yeah. Their spider fingers.
I wanted to say 3 other little things about the first one. One is my friend Ivano, who it was just his birthday and I texted him. He hasn't texted me back, so I hope he's doing good. But he's from New York and he said he saw this. His family lives in like the financial district of Manhattan, and so he saw this in 2002 in a theater that was like 2 blocks away from the wreckage of the World Trade Center. And in the scene on the bridge when they're like, "You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us," apparently the theater just went like fucking nuts and just like loved that shit. Which yeah. And great final fight. I love the weird cutaway to Norman just going, "Oh," right before it stabs him.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, he's got Peter. Peter's got one of the few realistic New York apartments in
Yeah.
Yeah.
any of these movies.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good set.
And then the last thing I was going to say before we move on to 2, because this is kind of an overall thing. Does anybody else
I already made that joke.
have things to say about the first one before I give us a little thing to lead us into the second one?
Norman's the scientist guy.
Yeah.
That tries to stop him.
Dr. Strong.
I remembered him as trying to stop him, but watching it again, he's complicit.
Yes.
He's complicit in everything that happens. He's a villain. I think it should go down in history that he's complicit in everything that happened afterwards. He absolutely goes ahead with the plan, regardless of the fact that he knows it's going to go wrong. He helps it along. He's a bad guy. I don't like him.
Yeah.
Well, he gets what's coming to him.
He does. Yes.
Yeah, he gets thrown into a lot of medical like lab equipment and then
He's dead.
I
He's
guess.
dead, yeah.
Oh, is he
He
dead
kills
for
him.
sure? Do they confirm
Yeah,
like
no,
he's
they,
dead?
Yeah,
they,
that's
say
how-
he's been
that-
murdered. Yeah.
Yeah, when he wakes up, when Norman's like wakes up and like Harry's like, "My father's very sick." He's like, Dr. Osborne, Doctor whatever his name is dead.
Oh.
He's been murdered.
Yeah, he's been murdered. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like they don't even say dead. Like this dude, somebody killed this dude, and the glider's gone.
I have to tell a little
Good.
Sam Raimi story because I want to introduce one of the other actors who's in all three of these movies. When Sam Raimi was filming the movie A Simple Plan, which stars, among other people, Bill Paxton, apparently Bill Paxton's dad decided that he wanted to get into acting. And instead of Bill Paxton asking his son, like, hey, can you help me out? Bill Paxton's dad somehow found Sam Raimi's contact information and got in touch with him and got casted as a feed store owner in one scene. And Bill Paxton didn't even know his dad was in the movie until he showed up to set and saw his dad's name on the call sheet. That actor also plays the Osborn family butler in all three Spider-Man movies.
That guy
He steals every scene he's in.
Yeah, he's great. I love him.
just such a poor man's Alfred right there.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, why is this guy in all these? It's because it's Bill Paxton's dad, and Sam Raimi thought it would be funny to spring Bill Paxton's dad on Bill Paxton, and I guess must have just fallen in love with this man and been like, "Hey, I want to be the Osborn's butler," and he was like, "Hell yeah, I do." I think he might even be in some of his other movies. I don't know if he has survived. I'm assuming he hasn't survived his son. He looks like if he fell over, he would turn into dust. But let me change my background. And who wants to tell us about Spider-Man 2? Scott, maybe?
Sure. So Peter Parker has now comfortably fit into the role of Spider-Man, but unfortunately it's been at the expense of everything else in his life. His personal life is in shatters. He's failing school, he's losing his job, he can't be there for Mary Jane, who's only his friend. He had to tell her that he didn't love her at the end of the second one.
Yeah, he friend zoned her at the end of the.
Yeah, exactly. And then is mad that she moved on. Typical dude. In the meantime, while he's dealing with that, Otto Octavius is, I don't know, doing some fusion project and for renewable energy, trying to like recreate the sun in his living room. And in doing so, unfortunately, turns himself into Dr. Octopus. And once again, Spider-Man has to save New York City from a crazy, crazy scientist.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason, what are your big fucking problems with this movie?
I genuinely do think that like the whole AI arms with the inhibitor chip that gets destroyed, like I think that that's unnecessary because like there's already motivations for the character to do what he does. You know, he has the very traumatic thing happen of having caused the death of his wife, like directly because he stops Spider-Man from shutting it down in time, and so like it just doesn't, like, I just don't really understand why that element is in there, and it kind of, like, I feel like it worked for Green Goblin to have him as sort of the wacky gas character, but to have a second villain who also is having his mind controlled by forces outside of himself, like, it just kind of means that, like, as a character, I'm less interested in him and his motivations, because it's primarily, like what going on is his actual motivations versus like what is the wacky AI arms that are controlling him, and I just don't think it's necessary because they did set up the reasons for him to do what he does, and
Well, their arms
it
were
just
puppets.
Yeah.
it just
In a lot of the shows.
it just feels like you don't need that.
It does let him off the hook slightly, I'd say, like, as a character.
Yeah, I it's interesting. I totally 100% understand like where you're coming from, and I actually do agree. Like, I think you probably could cut that aspect out. I mean, I think I think the idea that the arms have some sort of AI, like a responsive AI that are part of him, I think that makes sense because then when he's in the hospital and things are kind of reacting instinctively, I think that makes sense. But having it be that the AI are this controlling of him, I do agree. But I just think everything else, like,
And why are they so mean?
because
Why are
they're
robot arms mean?
because they're robots. I don't know. I think this is the best superhero movie ever made. I think this one is so Raimi. I think a good adaptation. I agree that there's that redundancy with the first one. But I think that the best adaptations take like whatever the material is and whoever the author is, in this case being the director. You know, we can talk about auteur theory and the issues with it another time. And marriages them really well. And I think so much of Sam Raimi's like style of storytelling is where he just like beats the shit out of his characters. Like that's the kind of movie he makes and the narrative he makes. And where previous movies are doing that for horror or comedy, here they're doing it for, you know, pathos. I mean, things just keep piling on and on and on. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's like so kind of brilliantly told in like such a simple, like poppy way that is really emotional and certainly makes me very emotional every time I see it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, same. Where like I definitely understand what you're saying with the motivations, and yeah, I agree. That could be cutting out, but I love this movie. It just plays so well. I'm so invested in Peter as a character and the stuff that's happening to him. I think the action is incredible. The fight scene on the train, the fight scene on the sides of the buildings,
Yeah,
are really well done. And the character work is great because it's not like a non-stop action adventure. There's only like 2-3 set pieces, and like
they kind
it takes a minute for the first one to occur.
Yeah, because there's the opening. I'm kind of skipping. I have a movie moment thing here, like a bunch of like scenes, but there's like the opening pizza time sequence where he's delivering pizza, but that's like more of like a comedy.
It's him being Spider-Man, but it's not an action sequence. Yeah.
Which does include, there's a bunch of Sam Raimi cameos. The guy who's eating the pizza on the ledge that gets the web zipped out, that's Scott Spiegel, co-writer of Evil Dead 2. All right. Yeah. Anybody else general feelings about... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
That's Zoe Deschanel's sister. What's her... Bones.
Emily Deschanel, yeah.
That's it, yeah. Bones herself.
Any other general thoughts about Spider-Man 2?
I mean, it was definitely my favorite to see, and I got to do it as a double feature with Hereditary, which was interesting. But I loved it. It was really good. Yeah, I was like Hereditary and IMAX, and I was like, all right, we're gonna do our Spider-Man 2, but I loved it.
How did one comment on the other, seeing them together?
Honestly, it just paired so well. I don't know why and how, but it somehow did. I just felt I left that dread and returned to this epic world of Spider-Man. But I think that's what it was. It was so good, and just what it was blasting me with that. Like even I was with a friend of mine, we were watching it, and I think at the same time, like right in the train sequence hit, we like both looked at each other and we're like, "This is so good." You know, just like hits on that level of just like, man, I can't believe I'm watching something like this right now because it just hits on every cylinder.
When it came out, I think I saw it like 3 times, and this was back in the days when you had to pay to see a movie.
Sure.
Each individual time, there was no A-list. But every single time I saw it in the train scene, that shot when the other train, like he's in between the 2 trains, he just kind of like goes back like this. Every single time I watch it, I always lean back in my seat. Like it's just so visceral.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the first one for my birthday at the Tomball Cinema 6, I think. I saw this one on the road because I was returning back from a family vacation. We were somewhere in North Texas, and me and my dad saw it in some little, like, small town theater just because I was like, I want to see Spider-Man. And my dad was like, all right, well, he's fucking Spider-Man, I guess. And he does like this one. He really likes this one also.
To give you an idea of how old these movies are, when I saw the first one, I had to go to the theater a week before it came out to buy the tickets because there's no Fandango, anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I had to get to the theater. Me and my friends got there like an hour and a half early because we wanted good seats.
One big thing I think we definitely don't get in movies anymore is some of like the economic stuff that's going on in these movies. There's like a genuine feeling of like that scene where Aunt May like has the like foreclosure notice, and then she tries to give him $20 and he's like, I don't want this, and then she like snaps at him, like gets mad. There's like a weight to that stuff that I think in like most superhero stuff we see these days, like even they kind of have that in like
There'll be a shot of them looking at a bill that says overdue and then kind of going like
yeah,
and then like at the end of the movie something will happen where like the bills will be paid, like
yeah, they'll have Tony Stark come in and pay all
I
their bills.
kind of feel like the only other version of it was with the Spider-Man game, because they treated Aunt May very much like that, where it was the same, you don't have to do this, and even though Peter's out on his luck and
or you have that
kicked out of his
scene,
house.
that mission where you've been evicted, and so all of your Spider-Man stuff is like in a dumpster somewhere, and you have to go find it.
You gotta go find your like disc of all of your Secret Science stuff in the garbage dump.
We've got two, I would say, new big additions to the cast. Obviously, Alfred Molina as Dr. Otto Octavius. I love him. You have so much empathy. I do agree with that critique, Jason. Thanks for fucking ruining a movie I love. I hope you know that I'm being like playfully antagonistic, and I'm not actually upset with you. And I'm mostly just really glad that you're here. But
I'm very upset at you for that, though. That's just unacceptable.
Yeah. And the other big addition that comes back in 3 are named after co-creator Steve Ditko, the Ditkoviches, the landlord family.
And
Yeah.
So does he turn into like a science fiction monster in the comics, the landlord?
No, he's a character made up for these movies.
Oh, okay. Man, it sucks we never got to see that lizard, huh?
Yeah. Dylan Baker. Yeah, I guess that's something I should. He has like 4 scenes in both of these movies. He's like, like the landlord's in it way more, honestly, and has like way more of an impression. But obviously, I love Dylan Baker. He's an incredible actor.
Yeah.
So, wait, is this whole thing? Is that guy's? I don't know about the comics. It's like his whole reason for becoming a lizard is because he wanted his arm back.
Yeah, he wants to regrow.
And then Dr. Octopus has like fucking 10 of them.
Well,
a lot of
a
lot of arm-based.
Hey, Doc Ock, give me one of them. Hey, give me an arm over here.
A lot of.
Anyway,
not to defend Spider-Man lore or villains or creation or something here for a second. Not to be the nerdy guy, but I will. There's a lot of Spider-Man villains. Spider-Man is a animal-based character, kind of, and a science like thing gone wrong, and so like a lot of his other villains are that also, and I think that's like a very pointed, purposeful thing in the comics. Like I don't think that they were doing that because they were being like lazy necessarily. I think that they were doing that intentionally because it just fit. It was like the formula for a Spider-Man villain is some sort of science experiment goes wrong and they become some sort of animal-esque villain. I mean, that's not always the case. The animal thing is like a little more optional, but even then,
Yeah, you do bring up a good point though with this movie. Like the thing he's trying to do is the fusion. But like I always think like the arms that he's created are pretty state of the art. Like that should be his like he should win a Nobel Prize for that or something. Like that seems like the market. He should take that to market.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't. Another thing with the sorry to bring it back to the AI, but like they show all the pins like injecting into his spine and stuff, and so like they set up like how he's controlling it, but then also add that other element of like, oh, they have control of their own.
Yeah. Which, like I said, I think I kind of what I was saying, where I think having the control of their own makes sense for it being like connected to his nervous system as like a reactionary thing, so you can have that sequence, but having it be like an actual like intelligent AI that can make like independent decisions, I do agree is kind of redundant. I really like how my other like kind of big thing for this movie, before some little moments I have, I like how MJ and Peter are like haunting each other in the movie. Like I love that sequence when Peter's going home and there's just all of those like pictures of her plastered on the wall. And yeah, I really like the MJ character in these movies. I think like there's a weird, we kind of got some, especially with the first movie, we got a kind of meme audience, and it's interesting. I know in like the fandom, she is kind of considered the quote unquote worst character in these movies, which I think is like I'm going to say partially sexism. At least, or maybe like 90% sexism.
I'd say that's a fair wager. Yeah, I'd say that's as far as motivations go.
You know, it's like the Skylar Breaking Bad thing in a way, where it's like you have this character whose POV you're in, and so you don't see the fact that she's basically kind of being gaslit by Peter Parker, if you think about things from her perspective. And well, to get like to go on that, like the scene when in this movie, spoilers, when she figures out it's Peter, like the look at her face is like everything finally, like there was one thing that was missing. I mean, you're right, she was being gaslit, and like that's the moment where it's like, okay, now everything makes sense. Everything that just wasn't adding up, I was missing that one piece of information, and now I know why everything that's happened to me in the past 2 years has happened to me. That might be my favorite moment in the movie, when MJ, the Kirsten Dunst reaction when she the reaction we get of her processing, finally truly finding out who Peter is, and the way you can see her like piecing, like it's like she's like piecing the last several years of her life together, and it like finally makes sense. And you know, like I agree, she is a damsel in distress in these movies, but I think this one gives her the most agency, especially with that ending, with giving her, she's the one who makes the choice for like the emotional climax of the movie. And I really like that a lot.
I think the only thing that I would say about like her storyline in this movie is, especially because they don't end up doing anything with it at all in the third movie, like the astronaut character that she's engaged with. Some of that feels like it's some of it feels like maybe it could have been cut back.
Like her being involved with him, or
just like you know, so in the previous movie, like where we end there, Peter and MJ's relationship is, you know, he friend zones her, and then in this movie, like she's engaged to this astronaut, and there's just a lot of, I don't know, that character just does, like the astronaut character, what's his name, Jameson's son.
I think he's just John Jameson.
John Jameson Jr. It's like as a character, John Jameson doesn't really get any time to become a character. He's just like the guy that she's seeing.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too. Yeah, that's all she needed. He needed to be like, he was a good-looking guy that wasn't Peter. You know, I mean, like
that's like the true, what are the true low points? The multiple gut punches at the gala of just like him having to like take pictures of the woman of his dreams getting engaged with. That is, I mean, I will say this is probably one of the most personal things I've said on this before, but the only recurring dream I ever have is I will sometimes dream that I'm at the wedding of the person I'm like deeply in love with, and clearly I'm not the one marrying them. I'm just like in the crowd, and it's the only recurring dream I ever have, and I have it a lot.
Does Harry slap him again?
But yeah,
I like that he also on top of that he gets slapped by Harry.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, fuck you, Mary Jane's getting married. Right
But that's
after.
more of almost like a little
Fuck you,
bitch slap
Peter
where it's just
Parker.
like, oh man, come on, dude. Like this doesn't hurt. I fought the Green Goblin.
Some
I guess
Well,
I
maybe.
guess the crux of like what I think is superfluous with it is I also don't really understand like Mary Jane, like why she's in this deep in this relationship. Like it never really explores like what they
Yeah.
have together. So yeah.
I think it works in a kind of like old school like rom-com-y sort of way where this is just the character, it's the kind of default cishet relationship. She is a woman, she's going to
Yeah,
get married to
yeah.
a guy, and this is just the guy. He's very impressive. He's got the pedigree of his family. He's an astronaut. He's a hunk. And
It just
Got
it
the
feels
big
a lot like
penis.
it's like that dude is there specifically for Peter to have the person that he's photographing.
yeah. I mean, I
with
would agree.
MJ.
Yeah,
I would
think
agree
you're
with that, but I don't have an
yes,
issue with it.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. He is just another. I understand they're saying that he's not an obstacle, but I think there's enough going on in the movie that like I don't know. I don't need to see like
Yeah.
the idea is that
I'm
she's
fine.
moved on. She hasn't been waiting for him in the way that he kind of thought she was maybe
Yeah.
gonna wait for him. Like
Should have.
But some like individual moments. I love those Alex Ross paintings in the opening credits. I
yes,
wish
yeah.
I could get like prints of those, especially the one of the upside down kiss.
Mhm.
Great Bruce Campbell cameo number 2
Oh yeah.
as Snooty Usher.
Yeah,
Um,
that just a great scene, just
Mhm.
extremely funny.
I love the first big Spider-Man scene when I feel like they used this in the trailer where it's like the like there's that car chase going on and then the car flips and the people are like, oh, and they're gonna,
Yeah.
and then like the car is like suspended and the dun 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 as like the score kicks in and it goes around and that lady's like a web.
Yeah.
And it's so like I remember watching that in theater being like, fuck yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Uh,
There is.
I think another one of my weirdly favorite moments in this movie is I love when Peter after the show is like looking at the door where Mary Jane is coming out of and staring at her, and then he leaves and then she turns and she just sees like the empty like stoop.
Yeah.
And
Can
then
I say
there's
something about that scene?
yeah.
I will say it feels like Peter does have a little bit of an out there where like he could have just showed up with his like messed up moped and been like,
That's
hey,
true.
I'm sorry, I had a car accident.
Yeah.
There's a bank robber and they nearly ran me over. Like he didn't have to say like, and I'm Spider-Man, I fought them. But I feel like he could have like explained that like, listen, I really did try to be there.
Yeah.
He's really
Life does
bad
happen.
at communicating.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then there's a shot in here that Madam Web stole.
And you know what? Not enough shots. They should
Yeah.
have.
I was gonna say, yeah, if they just stole one, they're missing out.
They should
Yeah.
have stolen the
Yeah,
whole movie
shot
and
they
just
should.
played Spider-Man 2.
Madam Web has a vision. Like I see something. I can have the scene when Peter's born.
It just opens with her having a vision, and then it cuts to like the Columbia logo for Spider-Man 2.
I saw the Steelbook art just got released for Madam Web. It looks so incredibly better than anything in the movie. Like I'm just like, that's a great looking cover. But
Hell yeah.
I wish this.
No, I wonder what movie that's for. Yeah.
There's the hospital scene, which is the scene. I love the scene. It's incredible. There's a part of me that resents it a little bit because as someone who loves these movies and loves Sam Raimi as a whole, this is like the scene that everyone points out. And I'm like, yeah, but there's also a lot of other good stuff in this movie too. But it is a great scene. I loved, I'll go through these quick. I love the line, guy named Otto Octavius ends up with 8 arms. What are the odds? There's the raindrops montage, which is great, which is in a similar place to the first one, where it's like the midpoint. In the first movie, there's the montage of him becoming Spider-Man, and so this one, the midpoint is him becoming not Spider-Man, becoming
Funny story about that montage. Like the editor put that song in there kind of as a joke. Like it was not like the plan. He just kind of like put it in and put like the edit to that montage. And Sam Raimi saw it and said, "We should keep that song. Let's see if we can get the rights."
That's great.
And, yeah, it worked out great.
Another Sam Raimi cameo, Brent Briscoe, who plays the third guy in A Simple Plan, is the trash guy who brings the costume to J. Jonah Jameson.
I can get more than that on eBay.
Yeah. There's Raimi quotes himself visually when Ock shows up at Harry's penthouse. The shot where it's like a close up of Harry and he looks one way and then he looks the other. That's that's an Evil Dead shot. And then the end of the movie, we've got the hero speech. Maybe the other best scene in the movie. It makes me fucking cry like a baby, honestly, like genuinely. That Aunt May has. The train scene, which has the redneck from Evil Dead 2 in it. And another great ending. And then that incredible...
Also, the 2 kids that like give him the mask are Tobey Maguire's brothers.
Okay.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then that third act, I love that Ock is just talked down. I love that ending for a superhero movie, that the villain is just like, hey, I get it. I've been a big time asshole. And I love the reaction he gives also, like the recurrence of the brilliant but lazy line and him being like, hey, well, now I understand. And
Glad they didn't recreate the Green Goblin thing where Dr. Octopus accidentally impales his own dick with all of his arms.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the setup stuff for the third one is rad. I wish it wouldn't have been meddled with. I have like another same thing with like the Bill Paxton's dad. I have another little trivia thing before we move on to the third one. But does anyone have anything else to say about Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, one more thing. When Dr. Octopus throws that car at Peter Parker, that would have just killed Peter Parker. He doesn't know Peter Parker's Spider-Man at that point.
Yes,
yeah.
You're
It's
right.
like 100% would have killed him.
What was the thought process there?
It's like he needs Peter Parker. He needs Peter Parker to lead him to Spider-Man.
Yeah, like if it was anyone else, he would have been like, "Oh shit, I gotta go talk to Harry again."
And then even after that, he throws him into that wall, like under all that rubble. But it's fine.
100% have killed it.
Yeah.
It's the movies. The magic of the movies.
I thought that the first time I saw it, like, this doesn't make sense. I don't give a fuck. It was
also one more thing, and maybe there's an answer for this that I just didn't pick up on. But why is Harry seeing Norman? Why is Harry seeing? Because he hasn't gotten any of the wacky juice at this point himself.
Just some wacky bloodline is what they got.
Yeah, I think it's just wacky trauma.
This is bad genes. Serum had nothing to do with it.
It's the
you put up a painting like that in your house, it's going to speak to you.
Hey, you know why he sees Harry? Because Willem Dafoe is available.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the actual.
Should have been a nightmare.
Like that's the filmmaking reason, because they wanted Willem Dafoe in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wasn't sure if there was
they could have made it like a nightmare.
He took the
or like he fell asleep.
He drank the worm cum from Dune, and so now he has like a link to everybody in his lineage.
Mm-hmm.
My little last.
It might actually be like a genetics predisposition thing, because he does actually take the wacky gas himself in the third movie, but it doesn't really
affect
change
him
his
in the same
character
way
at all.
No.
No,
So it might not have changed Norman either.
It just makes him
It might
buff.
have just like it might be like when someone thinks they're drinking, but it's been non-alcoholic the whole time. And they start acting.
Full placebo.
It's
Yeah.
It's the placebo effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. but with
Finally,
the
I can
lack of
start
gas.
killing all these people, which I never wanted to do before.
No.
Don't blame me. It's the gas.
Yeah.
My other little Sam Raimi trivia thing, I don't have one for the end of 3, is anytime there is somebody off screen throwing something at an actor, whenever towards the beginning of Spider-Man 2, when Toby leans over and somebody hits him in the head with a bag walking by, that's Sam Raimi. Pretty
Yeah, I
much
knew.
always, universally, he is the one off camera
I knew that
throwing
one.
stuff and hitting the actors with things.
Apparently, for that, the one when Toby gets hit with the bag. Part of the reason he did that is because like they had somebody else, like an actor, do it, but the actor was like not hitting him. We're doing it lightly
Yeah.
to the point where like they had to do it like again and again and again, and that was actually worse for Toby. Just to be like, someone just hit me in the head with this bag.
Yeah.
And so Sam was like, I got it. And
Yeah.
whack.
But yeah, let's move on. Bobby, will you tell us about what happens
I'm excited.
in Spider-Man 3?
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Da, da, da. The guy from Sideways falls into a weird, the dumbest experiment on sand that I've ever seen. He's done at 4 a.m. for some reason. It turns him and nobody notices that it turns a human into a sand monster.
Yeah.
But also, I like they do this weird experiment on sand at 4 a.m. and then they just leave it there. Like,
Yeah. That's when you do it.
everybody walks away and goes home.
Yeah.
Sleepy.
And listen, they suspected something was up because they're like, hey, there's like some sort of weird molecules in it. And it's like, it's probably just a bird. Keep going.
Yeah.
It's 4 a.m. We need to get home. We're tired.
They won't
We
let
have
us leave
families.
here.
We have
Think about
families.
how many sand birds and squirrels there are out there because of this.
So many. Yeah. Yeah. I think most of the world's beaches by now, I believe.
What were they
Yeah.
doing though?
I just seen what you could do with
Sand
like,
is
Yeah.
still fucking boring. Let's go home.
yeah. Didn't do anything today.
Yeah,
Well, we've spent $2.5 billion, and it turns out radiation and sand, they just don't mix.
They don't work. We just built sandcastles.
I got hired as the late night sand mixer guy, and I'm gonna earn my title.
Mm-hmm.
here's the best
I'm
way
gonna
to
mix that
summarize
sand
this
and go
movie.
home.
Where the first movie, what I'm about to say here is very nebulous and squishy, and story is weird. But like I would argue the first movie has 3 distinct storylines, which is the origin, the Green Goblin, and his like relationship with his like people in his personal life. The second movie really only has 2 distinct storylines, which is kind of why I think it's the best, which is his personal life and Doc Ock.
Mm.
I would argue this movie has 5 distinct storylines that, while they intersect,
At least.
are pretty distinct. And I think if you had taken any 2 to 3 of these and made the movie out of that, in my opinion, especially watching this again the other night, I think Sam Raimi, as Zoomers would say, has the sauce. He's got so much gas in the tank that like you can see the better movie like poking its head out here and there. Like you can see there's like, and it's all of these. Even I know he wasn't interested in the Venom stuff, but even that has like its moments where I'm like, oh, I can see the better version of this. And as a whole, you know, we've gotten so much mediocre superhero stuff over the years. I don't know. I still like this movie. It's clearly weaker than the other 2, but
I would say for the most part, scene to scene, I was mostly entertained. I don't think I was ever bored watching this. I will say it's less than the sum of its parts. Like
Yeah.
each scene individually, I would say not everyone works, but like you kind of know what it's going for. But there's far too much happening. Because you mentioned like the 5 storylines. So there's parts where like when we finally cut back to like, oh, that's right, the suit hasn't even attached to him yet.
Yeah.
And we get like we get the very bare bones of each storyline. Kind of, Jason, to go back to your point, like we did get the bare bones of Mary Jane's storyline with John. I'd say even less than that. But like Con and I didn't really bother with that. This movie, I think, is full of just getting the bare bones because like we
it's just everything.
It's everything is that, and so it is far more noticeable.
Yeah, there's not just like 5 storylines, like there's 5 villains.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people think of it as 3 villains, but there are 5 distinct villains in this movie. There's Harry. Harry acts as a villain until the last act. The symbiote itself, and then the Eddie Brock, who eventually merges with the symbiote, but Eddie is an antagonist in his own right. And then Norman shows up again. Norman acts as a sort of secondary antagonist, controlling Harry through his discussions. And then you got the big sand guy.
Yeah. Well, I would say Norman is the one that at least like is a secondary and is secondary to another storyline, because it's funny because I actually have written down what the 5 storylines are in this movie. And the other 4 villains, those are it's Sandman, Harry, Suit, Eddie, and then his relationship with MJ. And I really wish this movie, because you can see little seeds of it, of like a movie that really truly explores what it's like dating a superhero. Because that scene where they're trying to have a conversation and then like there's like a thing on the radio that he has to go help out with, I wish the movie had been about like that, you know?
Yeah, I actually wish in this movie they would a little bit more of a team. I could have done without like the melodrama of that, especially because there were so many storylines, and maybe you could have saved that for a later like story. But like they were finally together, and it would have been nice to see them like as a couple. You know, there could be some friction or whatever, but like I thought it was a little much.
We did have 2 movies with the relationship conflict stuff finally resolving itself, and so like we just never really got them working together as a cohesive whole.
Yeah. It would have been like, nice to have them together and maybe dealing with Harry.
That's what I was thinking. I would have loved that if he would have been honest with her about like
Harry situation.
Yeah, if he would have just been like, Harry knows who I am. Like if he would have explained like what happened.
We need to talk
in the
about
last
Harry.
Movie. Yeah, if he would have explained to her.
I don't know if you should probably ban him from your plays.
Yeah.
There's a thing going on with Harry.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you about.
Something that I didn't notice till this time is I like the setup that where in the first 2 Peter is at such a like social deficit, like where he is and standing in his life.
Yeah.
I like that in this movie with him and Sandman, I like the setup that he is at this height of like his social acclaim and where he's at. He's dating the girl of his dreams. Everyone, as Spider-Man, but still everyone loves him. And the villain, as opposed to being this like rich scientist, is like this like random dude. Like I like that idea, and I wish it had explored that more also.
Yeah, I think any one of the like individual conflicts there, it conceptually works.
Yeah,
it's just not given really enough time to develop it to anything.
Yeah, absolutely. That like we keep going back to it. It's just too much going on. Like Connor and I before the third one were talking about how like, and I think there was some discussion of splitting this into 2 movies, and it's like to do this storyline. The symbiote suit storyline reminds me a lot of the Dark Phoenix storyline. And then like the studios want to do it because it's like the big story, but it's like, you know what? It's just 2 movies. There are 2 stories in that. They have to get the power, and then like the villain has to emerge from that power, and that's a whole second other story.
Well, that's like the way the old X-Men show did it. Is they had the Phoenix Saga, which was one set of episodes, and then they later had the Dark Phoenix Saga, which was another set of episodes.
And I feel like if this movie would have had just the symbiote suit with Sandman, and Eddie Brock, but if it would have ended with like him getting the suit off, and like the teaser is Venom, just popping up at the very end, and so he's gonna be the villain in the 4th movie. I think that would have helped it out a lot, because there's just too much in this.
Really pruning any of these 5, like you could literally prune any of the storylines,
Yeah.
and ideally 2 of the 5 storylines, and it would create like probably a movie on the level of the first 2, if I had to guess.
Even as much as I think the Harry storyline is fine, watching this again, when he shows up as Goblin, I remember thinking like, we kind of just got Goblin 2 movies ago, and like there are so many other villains in the Spider-Man canon that like, oh, another guy in a glider, like we just saw this.
Well, and also like I think there's a structural thing here, like the midpoint montage here is clearly him, and we'll talk about the specific scene in a minute, but him enjoying being having the juice and the sauce and running around and impressing the ladies, but it happens like more like at the end of the second act instead of the midpoint. And I think that's a red flag. And also like the fact that they just reset Harry's story like is really weird. Like, why isn't he just the stuff that he's doing at the midpoint? Why isn't he just doing that at the beginning of the movie? You know what I mean? Like that's what really, like, watching it, I'm like, why waste all this time resetting his story like this?
You know you're in for a good time when one of the main characters gets amnesia.
Totally.
Always a good sign.
I do love some of those exchanges. I love James Franco's "I know that face," and I love the little exchange.
Such a dummy.
I genuinely actually do like the exchange between him and MJ, where he's like, bonk on the head and everything's good, and she's like, can you bonk me on the head? And he goes bonk, and Kirsten Dunst goes like, ah, or whatever.
That interaction right there, like that is a great interaction, and it didn't make sense to me then when later on his hatred of Spider-Man or whatever is enough that he's like choking MJ and threatening her and all this other stuff. It's like, you know, clearly those two have like a
history
and a friendship together.
I mean, technically they're exes who are still friends.
Yeah.
So
it's
I think that worked because that part was okay because he was kind of like back on the like evil track. What I think him waiting
switched to the evil track.
Well, just like it's like, oh, like, you know, the amnesia's gone.
I remembered I'm evil.
Yeah. What didn't necessarily like him not wanting to help her at the end. Like I know, like him waiting worked for dramatic purposes, but it did. I think it would have been nice if he would just been like, yeah, let's do this. And they could have wrapped up that storyline like a little quicker.
Fuck it. Yeah.
Certainly better than, I'm sorry, the monologue from Bill Paxton's father.
Yeah. We got a couple of new cast members. I like Thomas Hayden Church a lot as Sandman. I don't even want to talk about the Uncle Ben stuff because, like, who cares? Like, it gets by the end of the movie, it's already internally retconned, and it still matters that he like didn't stop the guy in the first movie. So like, I feel like this is one of those things where we've already talked about the actual issue with it, which is that there's not enough focus given to it. And I think if focus had been given to that idea, it would have resonated better. But I just think it's so casually mentioned that everyone just comes away with it like, did they retcon Uncle Ben's death? And it's like, oh, not really. Like Peter still inadvertently let it happen. Topher Grace, who's really grown on me over the years. I think you can't really fault Topher. There's some top tier line readings.
MVP.
That exchange he has where he's like, photography isn't about like, I don't know, flagpoles or whatever. That line delivery he has of that, I butchered it. It's so funny. He is a true hater praying to God for the death of somebody he doesn't like.
I love that that's become a meme. Like just the shot of him like this. Anytime it's usually a politician that someone's not a fan of has been in the hospital, you see somebody posting that picture of.
I think the new black suit theme rips the
that was the point of the sequence when black suit came on, where the music and the score, you could definitely tell the Elfman presence wasn't there because it totally went super Batman for me. Like dark, I was hearing not that many melodical steps away from just doing Batman.
You're talking about like the Dark Knight version.
Yes,
too.
yes.
And then, James Cromwell and Bryce Dallas Howard are there.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. They are
Those
there.
two.
Yeah,
They're
they show
fine.
up.
I like the moment where she apologizes to Mary Jane. I think that's
Yes.
very that's a
Yeah.
very human moment. But for the most part, she doesn't make a. I mean, she looks good as the character, and so does he. But I mean, I like James Cromwell. I'm glad they got paychecks. So
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's when you say like they're there, that's kind of it, because like they play Captain Stacy and Gwen Stacy, but they also could have just played Cop Number 4 and Hot Lab Lady, and it would have been the exact same thing. Like it wasn't like they were really introducing that storyline or anything.
Yeah.
One thing about Venom that I think is interesting, also for thing about Topher Grace, is apparently he improvised that "My Spidey Senses Tingling" line,
that makes
or
sense.
he pitched it. But like, it's funny watching this Venom story again, because I know people were very upset with like how Sam Raimi did it, and it is, I think, campier than what people want. They wanted like a dark, like,
Yeah.
You know who they would have loved direct this is Zack Snyder.
Snyder.
Like,
I was
think
just thinking that too.
Zack
Yeah,
Snyder's like, but I also think it's funny because like the Venom movies that came out are far campier than
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
these movies. Like what they finally got was like practically queer cinema, and so I just think it's amazing that like as like I do feel this movie, it certainly has let down from the second one, but I do think it's worth revisiting and reappraising, because it's not the unwatchable train wreck that I think a lot of people said it was when it came out.
No. And
we got it even out. We got it even elevated a little bit because it was fun watching it with the super enthused crowd.
Yeah,
like
so-
everyone was super into it.
yeah, when the montage and the dance happened, people were fucking pumped. Like people,
Yeah, well,
I
at this
remember
point,
people.
we love it now.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, people were saying that was the worst part, and it's like clearly that's like one of the best parts of the movie. Like,
Well, again, I think that's because they didn't want Peter dancing; they wanted Peter being dark and
Right.
I think part of the reason like the movie plays better now is because we know what the movie is.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
we're not
absolutely.
waiting for it to be something it's not, and also we're aware that it's just not going to be as good as the second one.
Yeah.
And certainly the first time I went to go see it, I was hoping for more of the second one.
yeah.
But that wasn't the case.
Some just moments I wanted to shout out. I love the crane sequence. I think it's like a top tier Spider-Man
one.
action sequence
Yeah.
where he saves Gwen. I just love the like weird geography of like the crane cutting the building twice so it makes the thing fall, and then all that stuff. I think this is my favorite Stan Lee cameo in anything ever. I know I made fun of him at the beginning of this episode, but the day he died, I watched the Stan Lee cameo in this and cried. Love the Sandman creation sequences.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the crystals and him forming himself. I think there's a great.
Love you, Sandman.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like scenes that I really like of the like Sandman doing Sandman stuff, but that him pulling himself together and trying to pick up the
locket.
locket and like his first attempt to sit up where he just crumbles back down. It's like it's genuinely good, and it's also like a good use of like CG for something that wouldn't really be possible to create otherwise, and it's just a good sequence.
And it definitely plays into the like Sam Raimi, like Sandman is the most, when we were talking about the like universal monsters kind of thing, where he is like the most, I would say, sympathetic in that way, where there's like the economic aspect of it. It's like, you know, especially we've been seeing that with these first two movies, like this world has set up a universe where that matters, you know? And so you feel for him, like you understand that he's being pushed into a corner. Like, what the fuck else is he supposed to do? He's a convict. He's got a dying daughter. He's now a sand monster. Like, you know, was he gonna get a job? Like,
I wish that story had been able to be fleshed out, because like it's wild that it ends and it's like, is his daughter gonna be okay? No idea. Who knows? Maybe, probably not.
Was she
You know what?
sick?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. His daughter's dying. Yeah.
of
Apparently
movie
in the
disease.
third act, his daughter was supposed to be there at the final fight or something, but there was like a lot of weird changes.
Well, good. We don't
I
have
could be
time for
wrong
that
about
shit.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to know something, but I don't know. He just got rid of it.
The locket's fine.
He just fucks
Yeah,
off. He
yeah.
keeps being a sand person forever.
I love that first. That's what this picture is from. The fight between Pete and Harry.
I think that's my favorite. One of my favorite fights in the trilogy is Pete and Harry.
Yeah. Like, I love that. Feels like such a Sam Raimi moment because he does the sound cutout thing when they pass by and he's like lost the ring and he's like reaching
Yeah.
for it and can't quite grab it.
Yeah.
I love the moment where he has all the sand in his costume. Really funny. Sam Raimi stuff.
The very quick cut of him blowing sand
Yeah.
out of his mouth.
Yeah.
The boot is great too.
Sandman's presumed death and all those like snap zooms when he's like pulling out the water faucet thing and like other rivets are coming out and it's all those like snap zooms on Sandman are
Oh
really
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Bruce Campbell's longest cameo, maybe funniest as the French major
Definitely
D.
the funniest. Yeah.
Croc says that in the editor's cut, she has a scene at the end where she is okay in building a sandcastle with her locket, but I don't know if Croc's just fucking around.
I don't know.
I've never seen the editor's. Has anybody seen the editor's cut?
I have
No.
not. I've heard good stuff about it, but
Watch that.
I love the moment where MJ calls Harry to hang out and Harry is painting a bowl of fruit and then he's like, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Just making a wonderful, beautiful oil painting.
Yeah.
That's my hobby.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
The third act is pretty whatever. I do like the melancholy
Lila says
ending.
that's in the middle of the movie. You're fucking full of shit, Croc.
Um,
I like him flipping that omelet and getting half of it on the floor.
yeah, that's a good moment. I love the so good line about the pie, and I love also when it cuts back to Pete and he's just like sitting on his bed like
Yes,
really
yeah.
like deeply upset.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite
That's the
scene,
best Harry shit is when he's like goofy evil.
yeah.
We needed more goofy evil versus Toby evil.
I think my favorite
Wait,
scene
did I
in this
say- wait, what the
movie,
fuck did I just say?
I don't know. I think my favorite scene in this movie is the jazz club. I like genuinely. I think when he walks in, he's like, "Find us some shade."
Yes,
and then
yes,
the
yes.
camera pans down to him giving her like a tip, and then when he like takes his jacket off and it cuts to Bryce Dallas Howard and her like hair blows back, and then probably the biggest laugh when we saw it in theaters, the like close up of his mouth in silhouette. Now dig on this.
Hell yeah.
I like his idea of cool. And I
Yeah.
agree with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sad that nobody else gets it in that universe and in real life.
The
I'm
one thing
trying to be that
one thing I'll say with all this stuff, like I do think that that's the best scene in the movie.
The jazz club.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Jason likes the Cats movie, by the way.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't he? It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I need to stream it. I still need to stream the Cats.
It's a movie made by insane people for insane
Yeah.
people. What's not to like about it?
Watching Spider-Man 3 again, I can't tell. Like, there seems to be some inconsistency with the way that people are reacting to him with the symbiote on him, because like he like there's definitely moments in which he's
This is playing.
yeah, exactly. Like there's definitely moments in which it's obvious that the symbiote is giving him some sort of like animal magnetism.
Yeah.
And like regardless of the faces he's making, it's like it's having like
We love Toby
big,
faces.
a huge impact on the women around him. But then there's also shots in which like the women around him are clearly disgusted.
Oh yeah, that's great
And,
to see.
and like I can't really tell like what's being communicated in the sense of like, is people's positive reactions to him inside his head, or is it just a mixed bag of reactions from people around him?
I think that's what it's supposed to be. I think this is another one of those things that if the movie had been able to focus on these storylines, it would have been more clarified that like his confidence is clearly attracting some people and putting off some people, you know.
Basically like pickup artists.
Yeah.
Where it's like 70% disgusted people, but when it works, it really makes you look good.
Let's real quick before we go to games, we wanted to talk about these as a whole. I've already said what I've said. I love these movies. I don't really have anything else to say, but if people have anything else to say about 3 or them as a whole, now's your last chance before the games begin.
Rewatching them, I gotta say, I think it's one of my favorite trilogies. I really go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say I'll probably rewatch them after the podcast.
They're good. I really like them. You should check them out.
Okay.
They're among my favorite trilogy. I think they play well. Like I think together, maybe not on the same day, but if you split them out, I think like I was talking about this with Brian when after we saw the third one. I think like they work as a trilogy better than like necessarily like the Dark Knight trilogy, where like the second one, The Dark Knight, is just so much better than the other two.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel with these movies, while the second one is certainly the high point, the first one and the third one are good enough that like you're still watching the same series and it's still of the same, for the most part, quality. And they just, I think they're incredible. And Spider-Man's one of my favorite characters. And I think this trilogy in particular is going to last in a way that like post superhero boom, post Marvel, whatever. Like I think these movies are going to have a shelf life the way the Burton Batman movies and the way John Williams Superman movie has a shelf life. I think that these movies are going to be remembered amongst those.
I agree.
I think they already are.
Yeah.
I'm just agreeing with you.
Any other general? I think we've had all our general Spider-Man thoughts.
It's generals. Other than just in the third one that the movie just owes MJ a huge apology for pouring salt on a wound consistently throughout. Like I was just watching, I was like
distress a third time for no reason.
And they just kept beating her up. I'm like, just chill. Let her have a little bit of an afternoon.
Yeah. But I think it's about time. Oh, wait, hold on. It's Connor's Wicked Games, sponsored by Chris Isaac. Every week, like Jigsaw, I like to play a little game. This week...
Also, sorry for not watching the movies to prepare for this.
That's fine. This week...
But I have seen them.
Everyone's favorite, we're playing Spider-Man, Spider-Man, or Man-Spider. I'm going to say the name of something. It's either a title or a last name, and you have to tell me, is it A, a Spider-Man character, B, a type of spider, C, a man who has been killed by a spider bite, or D, some sort of mutant spider, man-spider creature, if you will. We'll go around taking turns, 1 point for each correct answer. Some clarifications. I think Spider-Man character and type of spider are pretty clear. When I say man who has been killed by spider, it could be a woman. I'm using it in the like mankind sense.
Makes the game work.
And when I say man spider, I mean any sort of like Drider-like creature. Drider, by the way, if people don't know, is a centaur but with spiders. The other half doesn't necessarily have to be a man. The creature itself doesn't have to be spider related per se. This will kind of make sense as I go on. It's the most nebulous of these. And I'll also say there's a couple of these. I'll say more than 0 and less than half that have 2 answers. If you guess both of them, you get 3 points instead of 1. If you get it half correct, you get 1 point. But if you guess 2 on a question where there's only 1 right answer, even if one of your 2 is right, you get 0 points. So that's me discouraging people from just always guessing 2.
So Spider-Man character, type of spider, man who has been killed by a spider, and man spider mutant thing.
Yeah. Let me make
That's
sure.
specialty.
That's
Okay.
a spider, Robert.
That is a
Yep.
spider. 6. All right. First off, we'll start with Jason. We'll go in the round, and we'll switch up who starts first each time. Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Osborn.
Osborn. All right. Well, obviously that is a Spider-Man character. I'm
Fafnir.
trying to think if that's anything else. I'll just say Spider-Man character. Yeah.
Can it be all three?
It can only be
It
2.
can be up to 2. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely a character. Spider-Man.
Fafnir, you were supposed to give us like an hour-long thing on the Macho Man.
Scott.
Jeez.
That is a Spider-Man character.
Brian.
Yeah, it's a Spider-Man.
Bobby?
Spider-Man.
I was gonna go Spider-Man. Harry Osborn.
Yeah, that's correct. I
And
always
Norman
make
Osborn.
the first couple a little easy. I gotta be
Gotta
honest.
start off. Yeah. Gotta build confidence.
Or
Feel
the
good about
opposite,
myself.
respectively.
By the end of this, I usually feel terrible about myself. So it's
So we all get a point.
Everyone gets a point. Fafnir.
That's this generation.
House.
Oh, that's a type of spider.
Scott.
Yeah, I was gonna say type of spider.
Brian.
type of spider.
Bobby.
Type of spider.
Jason.
Yeah, that is a type of spider.
All right. You're all correct. Scott. What about Shelob? Now, I should say, when I say type of spider, I don't mean a famous spider.
What was it?
Shelob.
Shelob.
I am not. I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm not talking about the Lord of the Rings character.
Okay. Okay, so I'm sorry. So I know there's like a type of spider and a Spider-Man character. Explain these other two options.
Someone who has been killed by a spider and some sort of
Yeah.
mutant spider character.
I'm gonna go with the mutant spider character.
Brian?
Shelob, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go mutant.
Bobby?
I'm gonna go type of spider. Wait, isn't that the spider? Wait, I'm gonna go type of spider.
I literally just said that.
It's a person killed by a spider.
Jason?
Oh, I'll just go with mutant. Yeah.
Fafnir?
Can I go mutant too?
Sure.
I don't know a lot about spiders. I'm ashamed to say.
Originally, I was gonna think it was a mutant spider thing. I was thinking of Quelaag from the Dark Souls game, but I know there's another character in the same series that's might be related. It's like her sister or something. So I'm just gonna go a mutant spider thing also.
Everyone is once again correct. Shelob is a minor Ghost Rider villain.
Okay.
Who is a like a Drider-like mutant spider creature. Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Parker.
Well, it's definitely a Spider-Man. And it's also killed by a. What is it? What's the killed one again?
Somebody
Yeah,
who's been
man
killed by a spider.
IRL?
Yes. These are all real
All right.
people whose deaths I'm exploiting for content.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, gotta feed the machine.
Yeah. I mean, definitely Spider-Man for sure. I'm just trying to think if it's something else because I like you get killed by a spider. I'm just gonna stick with Spider-Man.
Bobby?
It could be two.
It could be 2, but if you guess 2 and
Does
it's
somebody
only
name
1, you get no points, even if you're partially
Does
right.
somebody name a spider after Parker? Peter Parker? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. There's a murder happening outside of don't know if you can hear that.
What are you answering?
I'm just gonna go. It's a Spider-Man character, and it's probably also a spider.
Jason?
I'll say Spider-Man character, and I'll take the risk too. Type of spider, even if it wasn't before. I have to imagine someone's named a spider after Peter Parker at this point.
Fafnir?
I'm gonna play it safe and just go with Spider-Man character.
Scott?
Also playing it safe with just a Spider-Man character.
Well, you all played it safe and got 1 point. No one got the extra 2 points. There is an arc where, through magic, Peter becomes a mutant spider character.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. All right.
Hey, we still won Planet Safe here.
0 points, Robert.
I've heard of man spider, but I was I thought maybe I was thinking of man bat from the.
Nope, they both did it.
Okay.
Bobby, Hanneman.
What?
Hanneman.
Sound like a
You heard him.
Hanneman.
Hanneman's probably a guy that got killed by a spider.
Jason?
I have no idea. I'll say Hanneman. Hanneman's a mutant.
Fafnir?
It definitely sounds like somebody that would die to a spider.
Goddamn Hanneman. Hanneman got it again.
Yeah.
Scott?
I'm going to go with the guy that got killed by a spider.
Brian?
I'm gonna go with mutant because it's a mutant sound to me.
Well, congratulations, Jason and Brian. You're wrong. The other three are right. It is Jeff Hanneman, the founding member and guitarist of Slayer, who apparently died from a spider bite. So
that's very Slayer though. Like honestly, if you're gonna die from anything, spider bite in the band Slayer.
See now, if he was a member of like Korn, I would have known about that.
Me too.
But I'm not really like a heavy metal guy.
Jason, Burleigh,
Yes.
spelled Burleigh, Burleigh or Burleigh.
I'll just say type of spider.
Fafnir?
Yeah, I think it's also a type of spider.
Scott?
Can I hear it again? What?
Burleigh.
Yeah,
Burleigh.
that.
Brian?
I'm gonna go type of spider.
Yeah, Burleigh sounds like a whatever. That's
Bobby?
the point of the game. I get mad.
Burleigh fucking around with the spiders and being bitten, dying. I think that's a guy who got killed by a spider. That's a Burleigh thing, probably.
Congratulations, Bobby. You just took the lead. That is indeed also the name of a guy who died. This is just a random man in Sydney who died from a spider bite.
Nice.
Jaden Burleigh.
It would be just some loser named what was his name?
Jaden Burleigh. Rest in peace.
Burleigh.
Fafnir.
His family's getting a hold of this.
It's not gonna be a Smith.
Fafnir. Goliath.
Well, that's definitely a type of spider. I'm trying to. I'm really racking my brain though to think if that is a Spider-Man character. I'm not really like a big web head, as you might say, but it sounds like. I'm a shot in the dark. Spider type of spider and Spider-Man character.
Scott.
I'm gonna say a Spider-Man character and a mutant spider.
Brian.
I'm gonna say Spider-Man and a spider.
Bobby.
At least Spider-Man and a spider.
Jason.
Yeah, I'll go with the majority here. Spider-Man character and a type of spider.
The majority is correct. Scott, you got 1 point. Scott, you did get 1
Look at that,
point
Scott.
for getting the half thing, but everyone else got 3 points. That is indeed a type of spider and one of the like multiverse spiders, I think. Scott, Babyface.
Type of spider, I'll say.
Brian.
I'm gonna say Spider-Man.
Bobby.
Reminds me of Babyface Nelson, but I think he died. He was like a gangster who died in a shootout in the 30s. So it had nothing to do with a spider. So I guess I'll just say it's this type of spider.
Jason.
I'll say Spider-Man character.
Fafnir.
I would say it's a mutant.
Fafnir, only one who got it right.
Oh,
Babyface
shit.
is the name of the toy in Toy Story that Sid experiments on. That is like the weird little like mutant
Oh yeah.
Okay.
spider
Yeah,
baby
yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
I'm a big Toy Story fan.
Next up, I think this one goes to
I think Babyface is a Dick Tracy villain.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think
probably
so.
also to I think this one goes to Brian first. Right? Huntsman.
That's a spider and a Spider-Man character.
Bobby.
What is it?
Huntsman.
Huntsman? I think it's a probably got bit by a spider. And died.
He was hunting him out and just like, God damn, get Huntsman.
Yeah, Huntsman.
Jason.
Type of spider and a Spider-Man character.
Fafnir.
It is indeed a type of spider, and I believe a Spider-Man character.
Scott.
Yeah, I'm joining the club. Type of spider, Spider-Man character.
So I Googled this just to make sure. As far as I'm aware, it is a type of spider. It is not a Spider-Man character. There are like Huntsman versions
Really?
of Spider-Man, but there is no character just called the Huntsman or whatever in Spider-Man. And so no points are awarded this round. Sorry,
Dang.
everybody.
Damn.
Bobby. Smythe.
What was the name of the spider from Lord of the Rings?
Shelob. We already covered this earlier.
Oh.
Smythe
That's what
is
I
the
thought that was.
word that you're being confronted with now.
Smythe is a that is a man who got killed by a spider.
Jason.
Smythe? How do you spell Smythe?
Smythe.
Smythe. I'll say that's a Spider-Man character.
Fafnir.
I've never heard this name in my life. I am. Maybe somebody did die from a spider by the name of Smythe. I'm gonna go with that.
Scott.
It's a Spider-Man character. I'm going Spider-Man character.
Oh.
Brian.
I'm gonna do the same Spider-Man character.
It is indeed a Spider-Man character, Alistair Smythe.
The Spider
Yeah.
Slayer or the
Yeah.
Spider-
that guy.
Yeah.
Could have gone last.
BJ Novak plays him in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Two.
Never as the
Fuck,
character.
that's the one I haven't seen.
He just
Yeah.
shows up.
Missed
like
out.
like he never becomes
Same.
a Spider-Man Slayer. He's just like someone says, "Thank you, Mr. Smythe," and then like looks at the camera and goes, "Huh?
I wouldn't have gotten
You
it.
hear that?
I don't know, Smythe.
Jason. Mohawk.
Mohawk.
Wait, I'm sorry. It's Mohawk. I thought. Okay, that's the.
Yep.
I thought it was Jason Mohawk for a second there.
Jason Momohawk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that's a mutant.
Fafnir.
I'm gonna say it's a mutant. I'm also gonna say it's a type of spider.
Scott.
I'm just gonna say type of spider.
Brian.
Do I get extra? Wait, what? Damn. Never mind. I thought I was thinking of a whole other thing. I was thinking of like the character in Gremlins, and I was like, we're not playing Gremlins games. Fuck. Mutant.
Bobby.
I'm gonna say probably a type of spider, but it's got to be a Spider-Man character.
Brian,
Maybe.
I'm glad you said that and went with mutant, because indeed Mohawk is the name of the gremlin in Gremlins 2 that becomes the spider gremlin.
You were doing it. Hell yeah.
Yes.
I was
And I was just like,
100% talking about
Hell yeah.
Gremlins.
Because like in the rules of the game, I'm like, wait, this is applying to other outside Spider-Verse world, and I was trying to think of it.
That's why I
hell yeah.
100% said earlier that the other half could be something else other than a man.
Right.
Fafnir, Moraes, Morais.
Somebody died.
Scott,
Yeah, I'll say somebody died. I don't know.
Brian,
Yeah, Moraes is dead.
Rest in peace.
Sorry, buddy.
Bobby,
Spider killed him.
Jason.
I guess we're all having a wake for Moraes. Yeah.
Indeed,
Whatever.
Brazilian singer Daryl Moraes
Yeah.
dies after being bitten by a spider.
Yay! Hooray!
Death, yes.
Yeah.
Sucks.
With all due respect.
Who's going first next? I think it's Scott. Lynx, Lynx.
Mutant.
Brian,
Spider.
Bobby,
What is it?
Lynx, Lynx.
Links. That's a Spider-Man character.
Jason,
I gotta say that's a type of spider and a Spider-Man character.
Can I also say it's also might be a type of Spider-Man character?
you can.
Do whatever you want, Robert.
Fafnir,
Yeah. Spider, and Spider-Man character.
and we started with Scott. So
That's an X in it. That's very spider-like. It's
it's
gotta be a kind of spider.
it's just a type of spider. So I think one or two
Just a
people got
type of
points
spider.
for
I
that.
knew
Yeah.
Yeah,
know.
I was just a spider.
What did I say originally?
You said two things, I think, and
Yeah.
you said something else. Brian,
It
Gargan,
was something stupid.
Gargan?
Gargan, Gargan.
Mutant shit.
Bobby,
I would say mutant.
Jason,
Gargan. I'm gonna say Gargan is someone who's been killed by a spider.
Fafnir. This sounds like the guy who's been killed by a spider.
By a giant spider.
I think
Gargan.
it just sounds like a mutant name. I think I'm gonna go with that.
Can I actually change mine? I think.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead,
I think I'm going to take away the mutant thing and go with just a Spider-Man character.
Scott.
I'm gonna just say Spider-Man character.
It is indeed a Spider-Man character, Matt Gargan, aka the Scorpion.
Scorpion, yeah.
Nice.
Bobby.
That's his name.
Yeah, his real name is Mac Gargan.
Oh my god.
Well, I knew it was something fictional.
Bobby.
Gargan.
Baker.
Baker, it's got to be a Spider-Man character named Baker.
Jason. Or
What?
Is that the end of your guess?
There's probably a Spider-Man character named Baker.
Yeah, there's got to be like a one guy whose name is Baker in the whole of
Except
Spider.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Jimmy Baker. Yeah.
Gotta be a Baker, and it's probably somebody who also got killed by a spider.
Yeah, there's definitely someone named Baker who's gotten killed by a spider. That's a common name.
But you're not gonna name a kind of spider a Baker. That'd be stupid.
Little chef hat.
Wait, what did you say, Bobby?
Yeah. I'm gonna say a Spider-Man character and a guy who got killed by a spider.
Jason?
Yeah, I gotta say it's a Spider-Man character and also a type of spider. Makes little loaves.
Fafnir?
I'm gonna say it's a
He's got
type
a
of
tiny
spider,
little oven.
and also
Oven mitts
somebody that's
for
been
all of his
killed.
arms.
Scott?
Got
Imagine
a spoon
all
in
the
one arm,
putting on all those oven mitts.
a whisk in another.
Yeah,
I'm
everything's
gonna
tiny. That's all I know.
Mm.
I'm gonna guess it's someone who was killed by a spider.
And Brian?
I'm gonna go with character and Baker as well for a spider type of spider, a Baker spider.
A Spider-Man character and a type of spider?
Yes, sorry, that was the long-winded way of saying that.
Well, what's interesting is some of these, when you guys have talked about them, I've like Googled to double check because I do a little bit of research beforehand. I did find out, and everyone's getting credit for this, apparently William Baker is the original birth name of Flint Marko, aka the Sandman, which I didn't know when we started this game.
Interesting.
However, I also had written down, nobody got this one right. Nobody even guessed this one. Marguerite Baker, who becomes a weird spider mutant in Resident Evil 7.
Well, see that one I would have known. I didn't even think about that. And I'm a Resident Evil fan. How could I not think about Margaret Baker?
All right, last couple. Jason Reese.
Reese?
Reese.
I'm just gonna say Spider-Man character.
Fafnir.
That is definitely a type of spider.
A Jason Reese spider?
Scott.
Yes.
It's Reese. Is that what?
Reese. Yeah, Reese.
Guy that got killed by a spider.
Brian.
I'm either on the Scott side or I'm thinking it's some weird character. I'm gonna go with character just to be a little different.
Bobby.
Take a gamble.
Reese has got to be a Spider-Man character and a type of spider.
Whoever said, I keep track of it when people are saying it, but Ronald Reese was indeed killed by a spider. Florida
That's
man,
me.
Ronald Reese.
Rest in
course it
peace,
was.
buddy. Rest in peace, man.
Fafnir, Orchard. It's like orchard. Is it? It's just orchard. Is that how you spell it? It's just orchard. Orchard.
Yeah. Orchard. That's a spider. It doesn't sound like anything else. I think it's just a type of spider.
Scott.
I'm gonna say type of spider.
Brian.
Definitely type of spider.
Bobby.
What is it called?
Orchard.
Orchard's got to be a spider.
And Jason.
Spider, yeah.
Everyone's correct. And last one, Scott. Strickland.
Spider-Man character.
Brian.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Spider-Man character.
Bobby.
Strickland. He got killed by a spider.
Jason.
The type of spider.
And Fafnir.
I'm gonna say that is a Spider-Man character, but also I'm gonna throw a Spider-Man character and a mutant.
What did everyone say again, real quick? Just double check.
I said type of spider.
I said Spider-Man character.
Yeah, character.
Bobby said it.
I said guy killed by a spider.
It is both a Spider-Man character and someone killed by a spider. Not in two different people. It's not the character within Spider-Man didn't die by a spider bite. There's a guy named Strickland who died by a spider bite, and there's a Spider-Man character. Hey, guess what? People tied, so everyone gets medals. Jason, along with Fafnir, you guys get bronze medals. Bobby and Scott, you guys get silver medals, and Brian, you get a gold medal. It was 15, 13, 13, 12, and 12. So really close.
Where are we at with the rankings now after all these podcasts?
You've been on a run recently.
Yeah, I've been trying hard. Am I edging Scott yet, or is he still dominating?
You might be close at this point. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm coming for you, Scott. Promise, I'm coming.
I've won every game.
At least everyone got medals. I was happy about that. I didn't have to nobody got 4th and 5th place, so I didn't have to be like, hey, you're going home without anything. I keep track, Jason, by the way. Everyone has a set of medals, and so I can basically create someone's GPA, so to speak, from how well they've done on these, because I keep track of it just for fun. But yeah, anything else? Anyone else wants to talk about? I think we should get a fucking ceasefire up in here. I think that'd be pretty cool. And I had something else I was gonna mention, but we're running late, and I know Jason has to boogie soon, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I got my other stream
in 6 minutes.
Yeah, let's plug that. You definitely need. I'm definitely the one who.
And I gotta eat my hot dog shirt.
Well, it was great coming on. Thanks for inviting me.
And I gotta watch these Spider-Man movies we've been talking about.
Thank you for being on.
They're worth it.
I like to watch the movies after the podcast.
I know. I'd love to have you on again, Jason. I know we talked about having you on one of the Twin Peaks pods.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I want to say, in fact, the next Twin Peaks pod, I'm hoping that one I'm gonna try to schedule around Alex's schedule, because Alex hasn't been on any of the Twin Peaks episodes, and I really want him to be on one of the episodes before we are out of the good zone of seasons 1 and 2, and we have one left of those. But that's going to be in 2 weeks. Next week we're doing a spring recap, talking about other spring movies, but specifically Love Lies Bleeding, Civil War, and Challengers.
Hell yeah.
And I want to thank Brian here for composing our outro. I want to say follow us, CinemaCurse666, on TikTok and Instagram. Please smash that like button, subscribe, share this with your local firefighter. Just go to your local firehouse and be like, hey, why don't you check this out? Hey, listen,
check this out.
Spider-Man's a hero. Why don't you watch this? Yeah, thank you guys for joining. It's been really fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was great.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, assholes.